Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is now just 15 days away from its official release by Disney, Lucasfilm, J.J. Abrams, and even creator George Lucas. That is all set and ready to end the Skywalker saga and the sequel trilogy itself. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, one thing about Episode 9 that a lot of fans are very excited, worried about, or very apathetic towards is exactly how Disney and Lucasfilm are going to treat the entire Skywalker saga, ending with, of course, Episode 9. Now, this movie really is a very important film to Disney and Lucasfilm, but not just to them, but also to us, the Star Wars community, and exactly how we are going to perceive this movie once it finally releases in theaters on December 19th of this month. Now, with that being said, we are just 2 weeks away until this movie's going to finally drop. We have the Japan premiere on the 11th, and we got the LA premiere on the 16th. So we're going to be getting reactions about this movie in no time, and getting a little bit of an idea of what the critics think about the rise of Skywalker. Now, on top of all of this, what's really intriguing has all to do with the first and the third acts of the rise of Skywalker, featuring some of the core characters in this movie, where it's explained that shot descriptions consisting of a sequence, where it's explained that in the first act of the film, it's said to establish that Rey has learned brand new force powers that will be fully explained in the film by J.J. Abrams. It said that one of the sequences is said to involve a segment in which Rey acknowledges the Jedi books that she has been studying and explains this to both Finn and Poe on board of the Falcon. It's explained that Rey has learned many new powers from the Journal of the Wills, which is said to explain how Rey has her new healing abilities in the film. Now, it's actually said that Rey essentially learns a godlike power, since the Wills are deities who watch over the entire galaxy and even created the entire universe. It's said that this decision by Disney and Lucasfilm will be controversial to fans about Rey's strength in the film and her new power that she taps into in this movie. It's said that many of her new powers will be tested on the desert world of Pasaana, as well as on the second Death Star, where she stabs Kylo Ren in the chest to where she essentially revives him and then leaves him for dead. The upcoming novelization of the film, due for release in March of 2020, is said to further explain that Rey often communicated with Yoda's Force Ghost about the Wills and even was guided by Yoda in between the events of The Last Jedi and The Force Awakens, and that Rey has been to the world of Ahch-To at one point in time between episodes 8 and 9, trying to communicate with Luke, however was unsuccessful, yet for some reason was with Yoda. It's explained that after Luke's death is that he was testing his ability to materialize through the netherworld to project himself in the mortal world, and that this took training with his father Anakin and Masters Yoda and Kenobi and others, as well as, and that's the reason as to why in the beginning of the film, Rey cannot connect with Luke because he was not mastered through the power to materialize just yet, and that Rey has not fully mastered the ability to see Force Ghosts and is only able to hear them, such as the Force Ghost voice of Yoda even. One of the segments in the film will even allow Rey to actually travel back to the world of Ahch-To, where the remains of the tree library will be seen again, where it's burned down to the ground, where Luke's Force Ghost is finally able to connect with Rey in the moment to tell her secrets about Darth Sidious, and that he confirms to Rey that Palpatine is indeed her grandfather, and that he must be stopped. Rey is said to question her role as a Jedi since she is connected to a dark bloodline, where Luke lays the example that he too came from a dark bloodline, from his father Anakin becoming Darth Vader under Palpatine's manipulation. However, that Luke tells Rey that she can make the same choice that he did, was to never turn to the dark side and to confront fear is the destiny of a Jedi. It's explained that Luke inspires Rey to tell herself that she cannot become a Jedi until she confronts Palpatine to destroy her grandfather once and for all. So let's go over a couple of parts about this. Now, obviously, The Rise of Skywalker is going to show us that there are going to be new Force powers in this movie, and the new Force powers that Rey will be using is going to be a controversial piece for Episode 9 that's really going to bring Rey to a different level beyond anything that we would have ever expected, is that she essentially has the power of the Wills. Now, in case you guys have no idea what the Wills really are, the Wills are these deities created by George Lucas back in 1975 when he was writing Star Wars A New Hope. So essentially they are godlike beings who created the entire universe and the galaxy that we all know and love in the Star Wars franchise, and they basically control all the events that we have seen from episodes 1 to now in episode 9. And everything that comes before and after this. Now, the Wills, in case you guys did not know, are actually these godlike beings that also created the Force itself. So the Force itself were created by the Wills, and that's a very interesting thing. The fact that now Rey, of all people, is able to use this new healing power by studying the Journal of the Wills that she took from Luke Skywalker's tree library on Ahch-To. So that's one way to look at it, is that basically Rey has these godlike powers in The Rise of Skywalker. To be honest with you guys, I'm not quite sure how I feel about that. It feels like that they are overpowering her character quite a bit in this movie. That's just my honest opinion. But what is shocking about this particular moment in Episode 9 is that there is going to be a sequence in the Rise of Skywalker novelization due for release in March of next year, of 2020, where it will explain that Rey communicated with Yoda several times. However, she was not able to see him because she's not well trained enough, but she was able to hear Yoda. Now, what's interesting about this is that Yoda would often teach Rey about the ways of the Force and the Jedi, and even helped her on her path to becoming a Jedi and to becoming stronger through the ways of the Force, and that even in between the events of episodes 8 and 9 did Rey travel over to the world of Ahch-To, that she's also going to travel to at the very end of this movie, where she meets with Luke's Force Ghost and is able to learn about the truth about Palpatine, and even sees the tree library once more. So we're going to get a glimpse of that tree library once again at the very end of The Rise of Skywalker, where we're going to see the remains of it, basically where the Journal of the Wills was located. It's going to be an interesting thing to see on the big screen. Now, like I've said, I've definitely expressed my criticisms about this movie based on what we have been hearing, based on specific interviews by J.J. Abrams and specific decisions by Disney and Lucasfilm that they have personally made to change the overall tone of this movie. I totally understand that, but there are elements that are going to be quite intriguing to a Star Wars fan, and I think that the fact that Rey was able to communicate with Yoda and even travel to Ahch-To in between episodes 8 and 9, that's going to be explained in the new novelization next year, is an interesting piece. Now, the thing that I don't agree with here is that Rey gets these godlike powers, right? It seems like that Rey has been so very powerful from the very beginning, not just because, you know, in the very beginning they just wanted to make Rey very powerful. Now they're justifying that power because she is the descendant of Palpatine, and on top of that, she's going to have this godlike power from the Wills by studying the Journal of the Wills. That is basically a thing created by George Lucas. So at the very minimum, they are honoring George's idea from the Journal of the Wills that was a thing back in the 1970s that now will be addressed in Episode 9. So at least Disney and Lucasfilm are doing George Lucas a favor by making the Journal of the Wills a central part of the story of Rey's character development. But the only thing that I disagree with that is that she basically gets godlike powers. Now she's able to heal people, revive people at will. In fact, there's a moment at the very end of the film, or at the end of the second act, I should say, on the battle, you know, where we have her and Kylo Ren fighting on top of the second Death Star, where she kills Kylo Ren essentially, or severely wounds him by stabbing him through the chest. He falls down and she revives him or restores his health and then just leaves him for dead. That's where he turns to the light side of the Force after seeing the vision of Han Solo, and that's that. So, very interesting, I will add, but there are moments in here that really do seem like it's going to be very controversial to fans, and it's going to divide the fans, you know, of making Rey so very powerful and having the ability to harness the power of the gods, of the deities, of the Wills themselves, right? The creatures that created the Force are actually going to be embedded within Rey's spirit. So that's one thing about this movie, and you would think that Rey would have the power to destroy Palpatine with that power alone, but no, she needs the help of the Force Ghost at the very end of this movie. So basically the Force Ghost voices, the disembodied voices, are going to be used as a way to lift Rey up to fight Palpatine and destroy him once and for all in The Rise of Skywalker. So with that being said, I would like to hear what each and every one of you guys have to say about this below in the comments, everything related to Rey's new powers, the Wills, etc., etc. If you guys want to follow us on Twitter, go ahead at Mike01 on Twitter, it's below in the description. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.